Hi, everyone. Today I want to share with you kind of a story of an unusual purchase that I made. I bought a gigantic abandoned storage locker that was 35 feet deep, and it's the kind that you could probably park a car into it. It was designed for it had like a little ramp to it, so it could easily hold a car and still have room to walk around it and everything. A large locker, and it was really full of things, not floor to ceiling, but it certainly went all the way back to the rear, just full of things that you have to sort through. The good news was that I paid a total of $30 just for the contents of the locker. I paid $10 to the Locker Fox website. That's what they charge, is the minimum they charge is $10. And then I realized there were so many things in there that it's going to take me more than 2 days. You're given 2 days to empty out the contents, or they say 48 hours. So you have 48 hours to empty the locker out. And there's no way I could have emptied that out, even with some help. It would take a while because you have to sort through everything and figure out if there's anything that you're just going to throw away, or you can maybe donate it to a charity, and the rest that you're going to be selling. So it was going to take me way too long. So I decided to rent the locker for 1 month. And that month cost me $300. So I'm already into it for $340 total. And I'm going to show you exactly what was in the locker. This is actually clips from a previous video that I made about this locker, so you can kind of see what's going on here. And then we're going to talk about what happened and how did it get to this point. Now here we're going to be opening up the locker, and you can kind of get an idea of what's inside and what I was going to be dealing with. And you can see it is just chock full of things. There's some older things, new things. There's a nice dolly. The dolly sold right away. That wasn't a problem. I put that on Facebook and got rid of that. But anyway, what happened with this locker is that I bid on it, and after I won the contents, I went to the manager and I said, "Hey, what's with this locker? It looks like there's a bunch of different people's things in there. They're usually it's from one family, one estate, something like that, one single previous owner." And she told me that this was actually the locker of another guy that did the same thing I did. They buy and sell lockers. And so he was buying the contents of different lockers, taking the things out that he wanted to keep, and he put them in this locker. And then he would leave the stuff that was left over for the people that ran the storage locker place. They were stuck cleaning the thing out. What happens is when you win one of these, you pay for the contents of the locker. You pay, usually it's like a 10% fee to the website company. In this case, it was a company called Locker Fox. And then on top of that, there's $100 deposit that you're going to be putting on the thing. So if you were to leave the locker, with the stuff still in there, or you never come and pick it up, then you lose the $100. For me, it's a big motivator. I don't want to lose $100, so I always make sure I get it cleaned out. But like I said before, I didn't have nearly enough time to clean this whole thing out on my own, so I had to rent it for a month. So I was into it for $340 with the fees and everything. And there's the previous owner of this particular locker. He would go and take out the stuff and just leave the rest and just let them keep the $100 deposit. Apparently he did this 5 too many times. He did this, according to the manager, he did this to them 5 times, and so they finally kicked him off the platform. So he wasn't allowed to go on to Locker Fox anymore and bid on lockers and and win them. So I don't know if he got around that somehow by creating another account or whatever, but anyway, he was not allowed to do that. And then I guess what he did is he did the same thing here, is he just kind of abandoned the locker. He didn't want to deal with the contents of it, and so he just left everything behind. And a lot of people, and I'm usually one of them. I look at something like this and said, "Oh, that is a lot of work to go through it." But one thing that kind of caught my eye is in the photos, which don't show on here, but in the photos on the left side, I could see that there were a lot of old books there. And I said, well, old books usually means old stuff, and usually old stuff translates to money. So what I did is I said, I'm going to be taking a bet on this. So it wasn't floor to ceiling, like I said, it's not floor to ceiling full of things. It was just front to back, full of all kinds of things. And you can see some of the books in there. There weren't any tools, unfortunately. Nothing other than that dolly in there. That was probably what the previous owner of the locker, that was probably his. So I bought the whole thing and then I started sorting through it. And as I was sorting through it, I noticed there was more than one owner's worth of stuff in there. And usually when you find photos and tax documents, that kind of thing, you usually instructed to give it to the locker company, and then they'll give it back to the previous owner, because sometimes there's personal information, medical records. I found all kinds of things in these that are very personal in nature, and I always give them back. But in this case, we don't know how to contact them or who they are, because there's more than one estate inside of here. So we just kind of said, well, we can get it shredded. I pretty much took a lot of the things that were in there that were I just had them recycled. I put them in the recycling bin, and got that taken care of pretty quickly. But there's a lot of ephemera. There's a lot of papers that were in there, especially on the left side of the screen, as you see it here. And then I sorted through it. As we're going through it, I try to put it in, on one side, I would put like trash. Towards the back, I would put things that I was going to donate. And then I found out pretty quickly that I had more trash, so I ended up putting all the trash in the back and the donate stuff on the right side and the keep stuff on the left side. So I was able to have, a couple trash days. I'd take it home, put it out on the curb. They would take the trash, luckily, and I would do it over a course of a couple of weeks. It took me about 3 weeks or so to working on this. Not every single day, but I'd work on it a little bit at a time, and I'd finally whittle it down. You can see in this shot here that it was actually a pathway that I could walk and I could see the floor. And that was an exciting day. I said, hey, I can see the floor. So when it was all said and done, I used to have a storage locker at this place. It was right across the way from this unit. So I just had a little walk across the hall there, as it were, and I could put the things away. I had to put them in bins, and luckily there were lots of bins in there. Matter of fact, there were so many bins when I got done, more than I could possibly use. I just put them on Facebook. I go, hey, free bins. Some have lids, and people would come and pick them up. Or I had other things that I would put out there just for people to take. And you can see here I made some more progress, and those boxes on the left were personal papers. There were some old books in there. And I just wasn't too sure what was going to happen with all this stuff. But one thing I realized is that the person who owned it before me really just is kind of a lack of imagination. And I say that only because he had so much value in the things here, not that stuff. But anyway, there was a lot of value in the books. There was a lot of historical kinds of things. There was a pennant from the 1968, I believe, March on Washington, where Martin Luther King spoke. I sold that at auction for $600. And then there were books that were signed first editions, just first edition books. There was a lot of very valuable editions, one way or another. None of this stuff was really valuable. I still have that laser game in my basement here. I don't know what really to do with it. It's only one part of it, but yeah, sometimes you can part those out, but it wasn't really worth it to do so. And then I just thought that he could have done a good job of maybe going through it. He probably would have come out ahead on this whole deal. It was worth quite a bit of money. But he was just. I just wanted, he wanted the valuable things. I probably took a lot of the tools because there weren't any tools inside there. There's always tools in these things, one way or another. So anyway, I hope this kind of helps explain this. I know I've talked about this locker in the past, but I just thought it kind of bared explain what eventually happened with all the stuff. So when I got done, I had things that were, you can see in the back of this picture here, there was trash back there. That was all trash that went out or recycling. And then on one side there was the bins. One side there was things I took to the local charities called STEP, and I donated the items to them. And then the rest of the things I kept for myself, and I sold them. And I'm still selling them too. It's been 6 months now, and I still have books and other things from this locker. And I have I will share with you another time I have found some scrapbooks of what some of these people were doing. They were quite wealthy. They lived in the fancy part of New York, which I don't know what that is. I've never been there before, but that's where they lived, and they did a lot of charity fundraisers and fancy things like that, fashion shows and so forth. So I'll share with you some of their clippings, and they did a lot. They were very out there socialites. They were seen with famous local people from New York City and all. So it was quite interesting learning about their lives. And I did, now before you say, well, why didn't you try and return the stuff to them? I tried. I looked for their son. I found their son's name in there. And I tried contacting him. I tried Googling him. There wasn't a lot of information. He did work for I guess it would be like a think tank in Washington, D.C., and I sent them an email, say, hey, do you know how to get a hold of this guy? And they never responded to me. I'm not even sure if the think tank's still even in operation, but I did my best to try and return the stuff to them, and even personal photos. There are old photos, and they're from the 1940s and 50s. Those will sell on online on eBay. You can sell them without a problem. These were those boxes mostly had their personal items in there, and that's what I had to sort through. It takes a long time. I still have some I just finished doing still 6 months later. You see there's some scrapbooks down there, and that has all their charitable work that they did. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, everyone. If you like this kind of content, please leave me please leave me a remark. I'd be happy to answer your questions about this or any facet of buying and selling things at this scale. It's not for the timid. You have to have a plan for what you're going to do with the stuff. What you're going to do with it when it's when you're done cleaning it all out. You have to have a plan for it, where you're going to store it, how you're going to list it, all that kind of thing. So